Did you know that the way you sleep tonight, especially if you're over the age of 65, could have serious repercussions on your overall health and possibly even shorten your life? It might sound dramatic, but more and more experts and scientific studies are suggesting that certain sleeping habits in older adults can put them at greater risk for heart trouble, weakened immunity, and a host of other complications that could lead to an untimely end. If that doesn't catch your attention, I'm not sure what will. Now, before you get too worried, remember that knowledge is power. Millions of seniors have turned things around, are you, simply by rethinking the way they rest each night. This video aims to shed light on why these final hours before sleep matter so much, how specific sleeping positions or durations can become risky, and most importantly, what you can do to ensure you're giving your body, no matter your age, the best possible chance at a long and vibrant life. So, make yourself comfortable. We're about to take a deep dive into some fascinating science, hear comments from folks who've been there, and learn from top medical experts about what's really going on when you snooze, and how a seemingly small change could save your life. Why sleep matters so deeply for people over 65. Most of us know that sleep is important. You've probably heard it from your doctor, read it online, or even experienced those groggy mornings when you didn't get enough shut-eye. The National Sleep Foundation recommends somewhere between 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night for adults over 65. That's pretty standard advice, but what's fascinating is how your physical, mental, and even emotional well-being are influenced by far more than just the number of hours you log in bed. As you age, natural shifts in your circadian rhythm, the fancy scientific term for your internal body clock, can cause you to feel sleepy earlier in the evening and wake up earlier in the morning. This phenomenon is sometimes referred to as advanced sleep phase syndrome. For some older adults, these changes are mild, but for others, they can seriously disrupt life. Certain folks start taking afternoon naps, lying down too soon at night, or waking up long before the sun even begins to rise. And if you happen to be getting your rest in a position or setting that your body doesn't like, let's say hunched on a couch propped up by several pillows in an odd way, or even lying in bed in a posture that aggravates breathing problems, the result can be detrimental. According to a study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society in 2018, both short sleep, under 5 hours a night, and long sleep, over 10 hours a night, were linked to an increased risk of mortality in older adults. The big question is, why does this happen? The short answer is that your body's repair systems during sleep are both time-dependent and quality-dependent. Too little sleep means you aren't giving your body adequate time to heal, regenerate cells, and maintain strong immunity. Too much sleep, on the other hand, can sometimes reflect underlying health concerns like depression, metabolic disorders, or chronic pain, which could be, if left untreated, could escalate into life-threatening issues over time. Digging deeper, sleeping like this, and possible consequences. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. You've seen that startling phrase, sleeping like this may lead to early death. And you might be wondering, okay, so what does sleeping like this actually mean? The truth is, it could refer to a number of potential pitfalls in your nighttime routine, including, but not limited to, the following. Sleeping in a position that restricts airflow. Conditions like sleep apnea are notoriously common among seniors. In fact, the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute estimates that sleep apnea affects millions of adults in the US alone, many of whom are undiagnosed. Older adults who sleep on their backs might find that their airway is more easily obstructed, especially if they're overweight or have weaker muscle tone in the neck and throat. This obstruction can lead to interrupted breathing episodes throughout the night, causing the blood oxygen level to drop and heart rate to fluctuate, which can significantly raise the risk of cardiovascular issues. going to bed at wildly inconsistent times. With retirement, you might think you have the freedom to pick whenever you feel like sleeping. But an erratic sleep schedule confuses your internal clock, making it harder for your brain and organs to follow a healthy pattern of repair and rest. Numerous scientific reviews, including one from Sleep Medicine Reviews in 2021, suggest that consistency, yes, even for older individuals, is key. Falling asleep at 8 p.m. one night and midnight the next can disrupt your circadian rhythm enough to increase stress on your heart and other vital systems. Using sleep medications without proper medical guidance. Many seniors report difficulty in either falling asleep or staying asleep and turn to over-the-counter or prescription sleep aids. While these medications can be helpful in certain situations, especially under a doctor's supervision, they also come with side effects. Some can cause drowsiness the next day, heightening the risk of falls, while others may impact breathing or lead to dependency. This can be dangerous, especially if the person taking them lives alone or has multiple health conditions. But please note, none of this means you're doomed if you've been sleeping in one of these ways. People change their lifestyles all the time and often see remarkable improvements in their health. The real crux of the problem arises when you don't even realize a particular habit is harming you, and you keep repeating it for months or years on end. There's nothing quite as powerful as hearing from individuals who've actually gone through these experiences. Let's bring in some of their voices. "I honestly didn't realize I had sleep apnea," says George, 72, who discovered his condition during a routine checkup after his wife noticed his snoring had gotten worse. "I would drift off in my recliner around 9 p.m. almost every night. Sometimes I'd even wake up gasping for air, but I wrote it off as a weird dream. My doctor told me that because my sleeping position was half upright, half slumped, I was making it harder to breathe clearly. I changed to sleeping on my side with a pillow that fully supported my neck, and I've never felt better." Then there's Martha, 68, who had the opposite problem. She spent all day eagerly waiting for bedtime but would toss and turn each night. "I thought if I lay down earlier, I'd get more hours of rest," she recalls. "But my mind would wake up at 3 a.m. and I'd just stare at the ceiling. Sometimes I'd get out of bed and read. Other times, I'd stay there, growing frustrated. My doctor suggested a consistent bedtime, no earlier than 10 p.m., and a quick walk in the afternoon. It was so simple, but after a month of that routine, I noticed my blood pressure evened out, and I felt more alive during the day." These personal stories underscore a central point. Your nightly habits might seem harmless until you realize they're contributing to bigger health challenges. Often, a few key changes in how, when, and where you sleep can literally add years to your life. What the experts say. Various researchers and clinicians have made it crystal clear that sleep is a cornerstone of healthy aging. Dr. Sonia Ancoli Israel, a professor of psychiatry at the University of California, San Diego, is known for her extensive research on sleep disorders in older adults. She has often pointed out that sleep fragmentation, waking up multiple times a night, and poor sleep efficiency, spending too long in bed but not actually sleeping, can be just as detrimental as sleeping too little or too much. According to her interviews in multiple gerontology and sleep conferences, the aging process naturally alters our sleep architecture. The proportion of lighter sleep versus deeper, restorative sleep changes, meaning older adults often get less slow-wave sleep, which is the type of slumber most associated with tissue repair, memory consolidation, and a balanced mood. Dr. Ancoli Israel emphasizes that recognizing these changes and adjusting our habits can help mitigate negative effects. We also have Dr. Terry Weaver, a former president of the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, who explained that many seniors mistakenly assume poor sleep is a normal part of aging. But, she contends, while some changes are indeed normal, chronic exhaustion, Heavy snoring with gasping or repeated awakenings aren't inevitable signs of getting older. They're often red flags that warrant attention, whether from a physician, a specialist in sleep medicine, or a knowledgeable geriatrician. The connection between sleep and longevity. Now that we've looked at the different ways your sleeping pattern might be raising or lowering your risk of early death, let's explore why it matters so much. The phrase "final hours before death" in the title might seem ominous, but it underscores how critical a good night's rest is to both daily function and long-term survival. Several large-scale epidemiological studies over the past 2 decades have drawn a correlation between chronic sleep disturbances and higher mortality rates in older adults. One noteworthy piece of research appeared in the journal Sleep in 2007, analyzing over 10,000 older individuals and finding that those who regularly reported trouble falling or staying asleep had a higher incidence of cardiovascular problems, such as stroke and heart attack. How does inadequate or improper sleep translate to cardiovascular troubles? It goes back to the role of sleep as a time for the body to engage in essential repair work. When you're in deep sleep, your heart rate slows, your muscles relax, and your blood pressure drops slightly, a phenomenon that gives your cardiovascular system a chance to rest. If that process is repeatedly interrupted, think waking up gasping for air or tossing and turning due to stress or pain. Your system never consistently enters the deeper phases of recuperation. Over the years, that can add up to higher stress on the heart, potential inflammation in blood vessels, and other risk factors that might lead to sudden health crises. Small changes to make tonight. Listening to all these facts, statistics, and studies can be a bit overwhelming, but the encouraging part is that you can do something about it, starting literally tonight. You don't need fancy equipment, expensive medications, or major life overhauls to initiate healthier sleeping habits. It might be something as simple as checking with your doctor if you suspect sleep apnea, or it might mean making your bedroom environment more conducive to restful slumber by ensuring the room is cool, dark, and quiet. A lot of doctors also talk about sleep hygiene, which involves consistent sleep and wake times, moderate physical activity during the day, and reducing screen time or bright light before bed. Seniors who've successfully turned their sleep around often mention the relief they feel once they realize how much better life can be on a solid rest schedule. When it comes to preventing early death, the big puzzle pieces often include managing chronic conditions, staying active, eating well, and, crucially, sleeping properly. Beyond the physical components, poor sleep can also be tied to loneliness or depression, which are more common in older adults than many people realize. According to the CDC, feelings of loneliness and social isolation can contribute to a variety of health issues, including disrupted sleep patterns. Sometimes, seniors fall into a habit of going to bed too early simply because they don't have engaging evening activities or social connections. Meanwhile, others might experience anxiety that flares up at night, causing difficulty in drifting off. This is where mental and emotional well-being converge with physical health. Part of a holistic approach to sleep improvement can involve counseling, therapy, or community-based activities that give individuals a sense of purpose, reduce anxiety, and alleviate that late-night restlessness. It's not just seniors themselves who notice the difference. Family members and caregivers often talk about how improvements in an older adult's sleep lead to remarkable changes in mood, memory, and overall vitality. "My mom used to be so cranky in the mornings," recalls Susan, 45, who took care of her 76-year-old mother. "She would blame it on old age, but I started noticing she'd doze off on the living room couch around 7 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. Then she'd complain about waking up at 3 a.m. with no ability to get back to sleep. We set a rule that she wouldn't lie down until at least 9:30 or 10 p.m. and cut off her screen time an hour before bed. In less than 2 weeks, she said her aches and pains felt more manageable and she had energy to play with her grandkids. It was like she found a whole new lease on life. Caregivers sometimes worry about being the bad guy by keeping older relatives from going to bed too early. But once they see the benefits, they realize how essential it is. If you happen to be a family member looking out for a parent or spouse over 60, remember that compassion and patience go a long way. And it's always a good idea to involve healthcare professionals when making significant adjustments. Don't forget that sometimes a bad sleeping pattern is a symptom rather than the cause. Older adults might be dealing with chronic pain, say from arthritis or an old injury that makes it tough to find a comfortable position. Or perhaps medication schedules are unaligned with a normal sleep cycle, leading to jitteriness or nocturia, needing to use the bathroom frequently at night. Even a digestive issue like GERD, acid reflux, can keep a person up, especially if they lie down immediately after a big meal. It's wise to consult with a healthcare provider to ensure that treatable conditions aren't interfering with your rest. A 2020 article in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine highlighted how treating conditions like diabetes or fibromyalgia can dramatically improve the patient's ability to achieve quality sleep. If your doctor discovers or helps you manage these hidden factors, you might be able to adopt a healthier bedtime routine that substantially lowers your overall health risks. A lesser-known problem for many older adults is the intrusion of technology in the bedroom. While younger generations get a lot of flack for scrolling through social media late at night, seniors are not exempt. Whether it's falling asleep in front of the TV or reading on a brightly lit tablet, artificial light can suppress the production of melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep-wake cycles. An easy fix is to either limit technology use an hour before bedtime or adopt devices with night mode settings that reduce blue light. Some seniors also find success with audio entertainment, like listening to calming music or audiobooks with the screen off. The ambient glow of a screen can seem minor, but over time, it can significantly impact sleep quality. And let's not overlook the basics. A mattress that's too stiff or too soft, pillows that don't support the neck, or even a room temperature that's too warm can sabotage a good night's rest. Experts typically recommend a room temperature in the mid-60s Fahrenheit for optimal sleep, though individual preferences vary. The role of naps. Napping can be a double-edged sword, especially for seniors. While short power naps, around 20 to 30 minutes, can boost alertness and mood, long or frequent naps, especially late in the afternoon, can throw off your nighttime sleep. This leads to that vicious cycle of lying in bed awake, then feeling groggy the next day, then needing another long nap, and so forth. Dr. Clifford B. Saper, a sleep researcher at Harvard Medical School, once explained that well-timed naps can be beneficial, but they must be carefully managed in older adults who already struggle with nighttime rest. If you're the type who feels drawn to a cozy armchair after lunch, that's perfectly fine. Just keep an eye on how long you're dozing and how late in the day it happens. If you find yourself unable to drift off at your usual bedtime, it might be time to shorten or shift that nap to earlier in the day. Putting it all together, the core issue is that certain harmful sleep patterns, like sleeping in positions that restrict breathing, going to bed extremely early, or relying on inconsistent times, can accumulate negative health effects and elevate the risk of early death. This might manifest as cardiovascular problems, metabolic issues, mental health concerns, or accidents, like falls, stemming from daytime drowsiness or medication interactions. However, the story doesn't end with doom and gloom. Think of it this way. Your body is resilient, and when you give it the right conditions for deep, rejuvenating sleep, your chances of dodging these life-threatening complications go up significantly. Real people, real results. Take it from Harold, 73, who was initially skeptical about changing his bedtime routine. I'd always told myself, I'm an old man. I go to bed when I feel like it. I wake up when I feel like it. But after I nearly dozed off while driving to the grocery store one afternoon, I knew something had to change. He began implementing a consistent bedtime of 11 p.m., turned off the TV and phone before bed, and found a supportive pillow that kept him on his side. Within 2 weeks, I wasn't nodding off in the afternoons anymore, he says, and my blood pressure, which had been creeping up, started to stabilize too. Then we have Alicia, 69, who realized that her depression was making her crawl under the covers as soon as the sun set. I'd get sad and lonely, so I thought going to sleep would help me avoid those feelings. But I was up at dawn, exhausted, anxious, and feeling even worse. It was a bad cycle. After working with a counselor and discovering community yoga classes, she found new ways to spend her evenings productively. Now I go to bed around 10:30 and have no trouble sleeping through the night. My doctor even said my cardiovascular risk factors have decreased. I feel empowered. Practical steps for a healthier night's sleep. If you suspect your current sleeping habit might be unhealthy, consider these integrated approaches. First, consult a medical professional if you have ongoing sleep difficulties, sudden changes in your sleep pattern, or suspect conditions like sleep apnea. Next, consider your environment. Is your bedroom a haven for rest, free from TV glare and excessive noise? Also, think about your daily schedule. Are you getting some physical activity? Are naps excessively long or too late in the afternoon? Making these adjustments can often be done incrementally. You don't have to overhaul your entire life in one day. Small, consistent improvements have a cumulative effect that can support your health and potentially extend your lifespan. While it's tempting to treat this script as a complete guide, please remember that everyone's situation is unique. Factors like chronic illnesses, medications, and genetic predispositions can play significant roles in sleep health. Always talk to your physician about any major changes you plan to make, especially if you're already managing conditions like hypertension, diabetes, or respiratory problems. Never abruptly stop taking prescribed sleep medications without professional guidance, and be mindful of potential interactions between prescription drugs, over-the-counter supplements, and other treatments you might be using. The goal is to make your sleeping patterns safer, not to create new complications. If there's a central takeaway here, it's that sleep is not just a passive state of unconsciousness. It's an active period when your body and mind perform critical maintenance tasks. For older adults, who may already be dealing with a range of health concerns, ensuring that these tasks proceed uninterrupted can literally mean the difference between vitality and decline. Changing your sleeping habits doesn't have to be a chore. You can view it as a form of self-care, a chance to show yourself kindness and set your body up for success. Whether it's shifting your bedtime, addressing possible apnea, or reevaluating that big recliner nap you take every afternoon, the impact can be profound. We began this video with a dire-sounding statement. If you're over 60, sleeping like this may lead to early death. Change tonight. It might have seemed a little alarming at first, but now you know the reasons behind that claim. Certain sleeping behaviors, particularly those that aggravate breathing issues or ignore your body's changing needs, really can contribute to serious health risks down the line. The good news is that these habits are modifiable. From limiting erratic bedtimes to exploring more supportive sleeping positions, from ensuring the room is dark and cool to seeking medical advice if you suspect an underlying condition, there are countless ways to protect your health. Experts across gerontology, sleep medicine, and psychology have all noted significant gains in well-being when older adults prioritize sleep. If anything you've read here has struck a chord, don't hesitate to try a new approach tonight, literally tonight. Engage in a calming, pre-bed ritual. Keep consistent hours, and pay attention to how you feel when you wake up. With patience and perseverance, you might just discover that a small change in your nighttime routine leads to more energy, better mood, and potentially adds precious years to your life. After all, each day is an opportunity to enhance your health, no matter your age. Give yourself the rest you deserve, and don't be surprised if you discover you have many more tomorrows to enjoy.